Ebasi was born in the quiet, dusty village of Boki, nestled in the hills of Cross River State, Nigeria. From the moment she opened her eyes to the world, her beauty was undeniable. As a child, people admired her smooth ebony skin, bright eyes, and kind heart. But beauty alone couldn't feed her family. Ebasi was raised in a poor household where her parents struggled to make ends meet. Most nights, they went to bed hungry, hoping for a better tomorrow that never seemed to come. Growing up, Ebasi learned the art of survival early. She would help her mother sell cassava and palm oil at the market, doing everything she could to scrape together a few coins. But even then, it was never enough. She watched as other girls left the village seeking better lives in the city. She heard whispers of how they made money, how they transformed their lives, and how their families now lived in comfort. Those whispers planted the seed of ambition in Ebasi's heart. By the time she was a teenager, Ebasi had made up her mind. She wasn't going to remain trapped in Boki's poverty forever. She had to find a way out and wasn't afraid to do what it took to survive. Like many girls before her, she decided to leave the village and go to Abuja, the big city where fortunes were made. Her family wasn't happy about her decisions, but they couldn't stop her. Poverty had already pushed them to the edge. Abuja was everything Ebasi had imagined. The bright light, the hustle and bustle of city life, it was a world away from the quiet hills of Boki. But it didn't take long for her to realize that life in the city wasn't as easy as she had thought. There were many like her, beautiful girls from poor villages, all hoping to make it big. Soon, Ebasi found herself caught in the street life, becoming what people called a runs girl. It wasn't what she had dreamt of, but it paid the bills. She sent money home to her family, especially her mother, who relied on her now. Despite the harshness of her new life, Ebasi took pride in being able to provide for her family. In Abuja, she learned quickly how to use her beauty and charm to survive. Men admired her, showered her with gifts, and provided her with a means to support herself. But as the years passed, Ebasi couldn't escape the pressure to settle down. Her mother, especially, wanted her to get married. "You are not getting any younger, Ebasi," her mother would say during every phone call. "Find a good man, someone who will take care of you." Ebasi wasn't sure she wanted to get married, but the constant reminder from her family began to weigh on her. She was approaching her late 20s, and the expectation of society loomed large. Reluctantly, she began to entertain the idea of marriage. On one of her visits back to the village, Ebasi met Ayu. He wasn't the type of man she was used to. He was timid and unremarkable, but there was something about him that intrigued her. Ayu had been in a long-term relationship with Mbeki, a well-known woman in the village. Everyone knew they were in love, but when Ayu met Ebasi, things changed. Ebasi's beauty and confidence captivated Ayu. She was different from Mbeki, worldly, experienced, and most importantly, she had money. Ebasi didn't care that Ayu was already in a relationship. She wanted him, and she knew that with enough persistence, she could win him over, and she did. Soon, they were dating, and everyone in the village knew about it. But there was an unspoken truth that hung between them. Ayu's heart still belonged to Mbeki. Ebasi ignored it, choosing to believe that in time he would forget about Mbeki and love her fully. When the time came, Ebasi even gave Ayu money to pay her bride price. They were married, and for a brief moment, Ebasi thought she had finally found happiness, but deep down she knew something was wrong. Ayu wasn't the man she had hoped he would be. After the wedding, things quickly began to fall apart. Ebasi had stopped her street hustling to focus on her new role as a wife. But that also meant the money stopped coming in too. She struggled to make ends meet selling food by the roadside just to put food on the table. Ayu, on the other hand, did nothing to help. He was lazy, content to sit around the house while Ebasi worked herself to the bone. At first, Ebasi made excuses for him. She convinced herself that Ayu was just adjusting to their new life and that things would get better. But as time passed, it became clear that Ayu had no intentions of contributing. Instead, he became more bitter and cruel, lashing out at Ebasi for their financial problems. He blamed her for everything, even though it was her hard work that was keeping them afloat. One day, after a particular heated argument, Ebasi discovered she was pregnant. She hoped that the baby would change things, that it would bring them closer together. But when she told Ayu the news, his reaction was far from what she had expected. "I told you I am not ready to be a father," he shouted, his face twisted in anger. In a fit of rage, Ayu hit her. The blow was so hard that it knocked her unconscious. When Ebasi woke up in the hospital, she learned that she had lost the baby. The grief was unbearable, but Ayu showed no remorse. He didn't care about the baby and he didn't care about her pain. After losing the baby, Ebasi never got pregnant again. The void in her heart grew deeper with each passing day. She tried to focus on her roadside business, but the strain of keeping their household running was too much. Ayu continued to do nothing, content to live off her hard work. But the worst was yet to come. One day, Ebasi discovered that Ayu had gone back to Mbeki, who was now a widow with 3 children. What hurt the most was that Ayu wasn't even hiding the affair. He openly spent time with Mbeki, and to add insult to injury, Ebasi found out that 2 of Mbeki's children were Ayu's. Friends and family urged Ebasi to leave Ayu, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. She was scared of being alone, scared of facing the judgment of the village, and scared of what her life would be without Ayu. She had invested so much in the marriage, and despite everything, she still hoped that one day Ayu would change. But as the years passed, Ebasi's situation grew worse. She was exhausted physically, emotionally, and mentally. She had given everything to Ayu, and he had given her nothing in return. The affair with Mbeki continued, and Ayu made no effort to hide it. He even used Ebasi's money to take care of Mbeki and her children. One evening, after yet another argument where Ayu blamed her for their financial struggles, Ebasi decided she couldn't take it anymore. She packed a small bag and headed for the door. But as she reached for the handle, Ayu's voice stopped her. "Where do you think you are going?" he asked, his voice cold and menacing. "I am leaving, Ayu," she whispered, her heart heavy with the weight of her decisions. "I can't do this anymore. I have given you everything and you have given me nothing." Ayu scoffed. "Oh, you think anyone else will want you? You are a damaged good," Ebasi. "You will never find someone who will love you like I did." As Ebasi stood frozen by the door, Ayu's mocking words echoing in her head, she felt completely lost. His cruel laughter at curb tip and the weight of his words brought down on her heart like 1,000 stones. She had spent years sacrificing everything for this man, believing that somehow, someday, things would change. But now, faced with the harsh realities of Ayu's betrayal and his open disdain for her, Ebasi didn't know if she had the strength to walk away. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at the small bag she had packed. Her hands trembled, hovering over the door handle, while her mind wrestled with the decision before her. Ayu's cruel laughter continued behind her, but she blocked it out, retreating deep into her thoughts. She had worked so hard for this marriage, sacrificing her body, her pride, and her dreams. She had given Ayu everything she had, even when it left her empty inside. Yet, all of that meant nothing to him. He had never loved her. His heart had always belonged to Mbeki. And now, he was even using her money to take care of another woman and their children. The betrayal was so deep that it left Ebasi gasping for air, her chest tight with the weight of the pain. But leaving? Where would she go? What would she do? The idea of returning to the village as a broken woman terrified her. The whispers, the judgmental stares, they would say she had failed, that she had deserved this fate. And what if Ayu was right? What if she was truly damaged good, and no one would ever want her again? The fear of the unknown was paralyzing. Yet, staying meant living in this nightmare forever. Born to a man who don't care for her, who had stolen her hope and her dreams. Ebasi's soul was screaming for freedom, for a chance at happiness, no matter how uncertain that future might be. But her mind, clouded by years of emotional abuse and manipulations, couldn't let go of the fear. Then, from the depth of her anguish, a new thought emerged, a thought that frightened her even more than the idea of living. What if she never escaped? What if she spent the rest of her life like this, trapped in a marriage that was slowly killing her? What if one day there was nothing left of the vibrant, hopeful girl she once was? In that moment, she realized that both choices, staying or leaving, were filled with uncertainties and pain. But there was no longer a clear path forward. She felt utterly trapped, her life reduced to a choice between two equally terrifying roads. As she stood there, unable to make a decision, Ayu's voice pierced through her thought once more. Go ahead, leave if you think you are strong, he sneered. But just know, no one is going to want you, not after everything. Ebasi closed her eyes, tears falling down freely. She felt suffocated, torn between the fear of staying in this toxic marriage and the fear of the unknown if she left. Her hands tightened on the door handle, but she still couldn't bring herself to turn it. Ebasi's final decision remains unresolved. The audience is left wondering what she would choose, whether she would summon the strength to walk away from the toxicity that has consumed her life or continue to cling to the fear of an uncertain future. This unresolved tension is a powerful reflection of real-life situations many people face when trapped in unhealthy relationships. The story doesn't provide an easy answer because, for many, the choice between staying and leaving is not simple. It is a decision filled with emotional, financial, and social consequences. Life lessons. 1. Don't force love. Ebasi's attempt to win Ayu's love, knowing he was in love with someone else, led to years of heartbreak. Forcing love where it doesn't exist only leads to more pain. It is important to recognize when someone doesn't feel the same and move on before too much is invested. 2. Know your worth. Ebasi sacrificed her dignity and self-worth for a man who never appreciated her. The story teaches that no one should stay in a relationship where they are not valued. It is essential to love yourself enough to walk away from people who don't respect or value you. 3. Courage to face the unknown. One of the most significant lessons is the importance of having the courage to leave toxic situations even when the future is uncertain. Ebasi stayed because she was afraid of what life would be like without Ayu. The fear of the unknown often keeps people trapped in unhealthy relationships, but sometimes walking away is the only way to find true happiness. The story ends in an emotional dilemma, highlighting how difficult it could be to break free from toxic patterns and relationships. It reflects the real-life struggles that many people endure, showing how fear, love, and self-doubt can create a cycle that is hard to escape. What will Ebasi decide? The story does not end here. Watch out for part 2.